Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
So let us understand what are the steps that we need to follow in order to install Informatica. Just remember this. I'll just cover it in short time. So remember, in order to install this particular Informatica, first we need to understand the prerequisites. I repeat, first we need to understand the prerequisites. Yeah? So which means what are the prerequisites that we need to make sure that they're all ready so that we can start installing actual components of Informatica, right? So prerequisites are what? So we know architecture, right? We talked about client, we talked about app server, we talked about server, we talked about what data or meta layer, right? So now we need to keep in mind this particular architecture. So in order to understand like how to install this particular Informatica, remember this, right? So now we need to go from what bottom to top. In order to perform installation for any product, not specific to Informatica, we always have to go with what? Bottom to top, not from the client. We should go from the bottom. Bottom part is what? Storage part and the data or meta. So as part of installation, our primary focus point should be what? Meta. So because all the data warehousing tools, they are going to work based on what? Metadata. Now the question, how one can start getting into making it work with meta. So that's it. What is a meta supported by Informatica? Like we have seen yesterday databases, right? So prerequisites. You know, we have seen different types of databases supported by Informatica. What are those? So MS SQL, which is Microsoft SQL, and then DB2, and then Oracle and Informatics, right? So these are the databases supported by Informatica. So we need to install one of the certified version of database. That is the first thing we need to do. That's where we maintain what I call metadata. Remember this. I repeat, one of the certified words. Certified means what? When you get a package from Informatica, we need to start reading the document and see what is the certified version of Oracle database. Is it a Oracle 10G, Oracle 11G, Oracle 12C, or whatever? You've got multiple versions, right? So that precise version, we need to get it. That's what I meant by certified version of database, right? So certified version of database. Yeah? So now let us say we got certified version. Next, the installation of Oracle database is very straightforward. It's not complex. Yeah? Then install this database. Right? That's it. Now, one of the prerequisite for this particular storage part is ready, right? And once it is done, next step is what server part we need to focus. Yeah? So in order to take care of actual server components of Informatica, so we need to install prerequisite. What is the prerequisite here? App server. Remember. So app server, I talked about yesterday, right? One, it would act as a delegator. Second, it would act as a mediator or broker. And third, now I'll add one more thing, which is going to be what? It will act as a what prerequisite for server, because it's a container. App server is a container, just remember, where container is just like a box where it can hold many things. Remember, for example, what it can hold in the Informatica context? Server component. Remember, which means what? In order to make the server components of Informatica available for any users, right? Make sure that these server components have been deployed within application server. That is what need to be done. Clear, right? I repeat, once it is what we call server components, once we have server components, make sure that they're all kept as part of this. So what is the prerequisite to install server components of Informatica? So install application server. Yeah. So that's it. So, but as I said yesterday, by default, Informatica package would have Tomcat as application server. That comes anyway along with. But in order to install Tomcat, what is the prerequisite? We need what? Certified version of Java. So we talk about runtime, right? Java runtime environment. JRE means, right? So this we need to install like JDK 1.6 with update 20 or above, or JRE 1.6 with update 20 or above. So JDK is for your build and usage, and JRE is for only usage. Remember, I repeat, JDK as a name suggests Java Development Kit, which means we can use that JDK to even to write a code, compile, generate a class, generate a jar, and use it. Yeah, we'll have both. Kit will have both the development part and also usage part. But JRE will have only usage part. In a sense, if someone has already built it, we can only make use of it, but we cannot build it. Remember this. Yeah. So which means what? Anyway, we are talking about runtime, right? So make sure that this JRE should have been installed. Yeah. So that's it. Now the next step is what we need to start getting into what I call, let's say JRE has been installed, and Tomcat, it will install by itself Informatica. Which means Informatica, what it does, it's going to install JRE, then it's going to install Tomcat. So app server is ready. Now the next step is what? App server is, Tomcat is ready. Now the next step is what? We need to start installing our server component, which is Informatica server component. So prerequisites we have already done, right? So before we install actual Informatica server components, we already know that, like the prerequisite part, app server and corresponding JRE. Once it is done, then the next step is what? We need to start installing what we call actual server components, like what? Informatica server. Yeah. So as part of Informatica server, like we have seen, right, yesterday, so we use a term. One is what? Domain. Second is what? Within a domain. Yeah. So within a domain, just remember. Yeah. So which means what? First, make sure that domain things have been set up as part of installation. Within a domain can be done later. Remember this. Yeah. So what is a domain? We talked about yesterday, right? Domain is a logical representation of services with its associated nodes. Let's make it very simple. Yeah. So domain means what? Logical representation, not a physical. Remember this. So let us start from the beginning. Yeah. What is a node? Node is what? A logical. Yeah. So let us say there's a computer with the name of C1. Yeah. And you'll have n number of logical nodes. Like we'll have, let us say, logical nodes. Let's say if you have virtual cores, core 1, core 2. Yeah. You can say logical nodes, you can have 2. So node 1 comma node 2. Yeah. So that's it. Actually, representation within this Informatica is what? So domain underscore C1. C1 is what? Computer name or host name or physical box name. They're all synonymous, right? So that's it. This is how it represents. Now with this particular physical box or computer, this domain will be added by Informatica automatically as part of installation. If you want to change, you can change it. Yeah. Now domain is ready. Now one is node, right? Now we also talked about services. Remember, because what? How do you define domain? It's a logical representation of services with its associated nodes. Node is ready. What are the services now? Second part, right? Services. So service means what? It's a long running process which will be bootstrapped when the system comes up, and it would go down when the system goes down. That's one way to look at it, right? Other way, we can also create our own long running process, yeah, by ourselves, which means what? This particular service can act as what? Background process, or it can also act as what? Foreground process. Remember this, yeah. So that is what happens with respect to what service, yeah. Now let us start understanding what I call what are the services specific to Informatica. Broadly speaking, there are two types of services within Informatica. One is what I call core services, and second we call user-defined services. I repeat, within Informatica, we got two types of services, namely, one is a core service, second is what? User-defined services. Core means what? Like we talked about domain, right? So domain, in order to make this domain ready, we need to have bare minimal amount of core services which should be started when the Informatica server started. So we call them as what? Primarily core services or admin services, to make it very simple, yeah? Like authorization service, authentication service, reporting service, configuration service, security service, node service, and so these are all what? Core services. As I said yesterday, when we start Informatica server, right, it would take some time to bring them up. Yeah, these are the services which I'm trying to talk. So it needs some time, right? That's why it takes time to bring up, right? So on top of it, that's about core services, right? On top of it, we can also create our own user-defined services, like we talked about yesterday, right? How to create Power Center repository service and how to create Power Center integration service. I think you have done it. You got, no? So this is what we don't need to take care of it as part of installation, user-defined part, but core services, they'll be what you call made ready as part of installation. That's it. Yeah. So that now we know what does this domain contains and services and corresponding nodes, all that we discussed, right? So that's it. So with this, what happens? So we need to supply the port number where this service should be listening to. By default, 8443 it uses, which is going to be the Tomcat indirect port number. I repeat, this is going to be the indirect port number of Tomcat. Remember, the direct port number is what? 8080, which is what? Direct port number of Informatica, sorry, Tomcat. Direct port number of Tomcat. So this is how, what I call, this domain part would be taken care. So port number, and we also need to supply username and password for domain. Like administrator we are giving, right? Nobody has question from where we got this credentials. This is where we need to do. Username as, let's say, by default you'll have administrator, but we can change the username and password based on whatever you want, right? So that's it. Like what it is supplied as part of installation. That's all. So rest would be taken care by Informatica. Just click on finish. It will be installed. Server is done. So prerequisite for our server is what? App server. So app server Tomcat. Tomcat will use what? JRE. That's it. Now till this we have done. Next step is what? Client. Client is just a dummy client. So you don't need to think too much. So make sure that you have got what do you call prerequisites met, like from Unix perspective or Windows perspective, whatever. Normally this client means we go with Windows. So install this client installable under Windows so that client components will be installed, like Power Center Designer, Repository Manager, Workflow Manager, Workflow Monitor, all that we discussed. Right? So all of them will be installed if you just click on client install. That's all. That's all. Once you do that, we can confirm it whether it's installed properly or not by supplying what? The URL. Like we talked about HTTPS The protocol is secure protocol. It's better to use it, but it will all work with what? Non-HTTP, simple HTTP. Yeah? So non-HTTPS. Yeah? So now here we need to supply the host name. Remember, yeah? Host name, your physical box name where the server has been installed, then followed by port number, which is indirect port number where Tomcat would be listening to, then followed by the app name, which is going to be administrator. So that is going to be the domain, let us say, yeah, or let us say console app name. This is going to be the app name. This is going to be the port number. This is going to be the host name where Informatica is installed, and how we can make use of this host all that in a secure way, HTTPS. Yeah, but as part of installation, we have got both the provisions. If you don't want secure HTTP, you can still use even normal HTTP also, but preferably, or if you think from best practice point of view, HTTPS is always better. So that's it. Once you do that, if you could able to see login page, which means what? Your Informatica server is ready to use. That's all. That's what we did, right? We could able to log in. After that, supply username password. We could able to log in. That's all about like how Informatica need to be installed as part of any platform or supported platform, not any platform, supported platform, either Windows flavor or Unix flavor. Windows flavor, it works desktop based as well as what server based. Yeah. So in Unix also, normally Unix means we go with a server like a Red Hat Linux or Fedora or what SUSE Linux, or let's say HP Unix or Sun Solaris or what HB Titanium, yeah, or AX. Yeah, we got multiple flavors of Unix boxes, right? So we can install this particular what Informatica Unix flavor as well as Unix flavors as well as Windows flavors. That's it. Yeah, it works on a desktop based and also it works on server based. Desktop based normally we use it for development purpose. Server based use it for real environment, in a sense like a QA environment or UAT environment or production environment, right? So that's it. Like how we can install Informatica part. So any questions so far from anybody? Yeah. So to start with, let me put it here. The environment that we are going to use in order to what I call install this environment that we use in order to what I call install this particular Informatica. Yeah. So remember, so this particular Informatica can be installed under single host system, or we can also install it under multi-host system. I repeat, we can install Informatica under a single host system, or we can also install Informatica under multi-host system. Remember this. Yeah. So now let us talk about one by one. What is meant by single host system? What is meant by multi-host system? Yeah. So single host system means SMP, technically speaking, which is symmetric multi-processor. Repeat, SMP means what? Symmetric multi-processor. Remember this. Yeah. So meaning what? Meaning what? Symmetric, as the name suggests. Yeah? Symmetric in the sense multiple processors, which is multiple CPUs with its associated cores should be symmetric in nature. Yeah? Meaning what? Let's say we got CPU 1, CPU 2, and CPU 3. Example. Yeah? And each CPU will have two cores. Like we call it as what virtual core 1 and virtual core 2, right? So now if CPU has got, our first CPU has got two cores, even rest of the CPU also should have what two cores in it. Then only we can call it as what symmetric multi-processor environment. That's the first thing we need to understand where this symmetric code has been defined. Yeah. So now the next question, how SMP will be used in the context of Informatica. That's the question, right? So, so now when install, right, we talked about install Informatica components, right? They all will be installed in what? SMP box. Yeah, remember. That's where we do. Yeah. So what is SMP now? It's a single physical box. I repeat, it's going to be single physical box. Remember this, yeah? So single physical box. Meaning what? You can say single computer. One computer, that's it. To make it very layman terms, right? So that's it. Now, what does it contain? One computer or one physical box. It contains what? Three types of resources. I repeat, what does it contain? It contains what? Three types of resources. What are those resources? One is a memory, and second is a disk, and third is a processor, or let's say CPU, central processing unit, right? These are three things, right? Now the question, how SMP will be used based on these three resources, that is a question mark. Yeah. So question mark, right? So to answer that, CPU1, CPU2, CPU3, and so on. N number of CPUs, they are going to share common disk and common memory. That is what we call SMP. I repeat, each of these CPUs are going to share common memory and common disk. That is what we call what SMP. Let's say C1 will have what we call, let's say I'll put D, M, and C2 will have what we call DM, and C3 also will have what DM. So which means all the CPUs are going to share common disk and common memory. So this is what I call SMP environment. So that is why we can also use a term. This particular SMP follows what shared everything architecture. I repeat, SMP follows what? Shared everything architecture. Remember this, yeah? So that is what that is where this SMP will be used. Shared everything means what? Everything means what? This memory. So this disk and memory is being shared across n number of CPUs. That is where we use the term shared everything architecture. That's it. Now let us talk. This is about what is SMP? We just defined it. Now the question, let us talk about positive points and also negative points about this particular SMP. So positive things. So when this warehousing started, right? So people have started with a single box and a single box with multiple CPUs. Yeah? So initially, people have just thought about this. Yeah? And then it is evolved from one CPU to what 256 CPUs or 512 CPUs, depending upon hardware provider or vendors. Like for example, IBM has got, let us say, 512, and HP has got, let's say, 256 CPUs, right? Yeah, but yeah, but anyway, the problem here is, let us say there is a 1 billion data which should be processed. Sorry, 1 billion data. Yeah, so we need to process it in what? 8-hour time window, right? No, which is 8-hour SLA, let us say. So I'll just put it. Now let us say we got what? 1 trillion data. Yes or no? Now 1 trillion data, can you get it processed in 8-hour time window with what? Let's say 256, which is the limit endpoint. Yeah. So answer is what? Answer is no, because the upper limit supported by this particular what, let's say hardware provider is what? 256. Yeah. Now the same with the same SLA, which means the same time window, 8-hour window, can you process 1 trillion uh, rows of data? Answer is no. So then how do you take care of it? That is where we have got a biggest problem, or we can say this is one of the demerit of what you call SMP environment. So which means we can add CPUs up to what? 256 only. Beyond that, we cannot add it. So that is where we are going to hit upper limit. Yeah. so during later point in time. Yeah, so because the data growth is happening, if you take any industry, right, especially companies like Fidelity or any financial or investment banks, where the data growth happens in exponential way. So which means what? So data keeps growing means we should have a way to add hardware stuff, or we should have a way to perform what scalability stuff, scale up, which is not there as part of SMP. So that is where we are going to hit the upper limit. So how to solve this? Yeah, that's one of the major problem. The second problem is what? The cost first. Yeah, it's very expensive. Remember, if one CPU costs $1, two CPU cost $2, no, it costs you more than $10. It's like that. This cost is what? It's not a linear. It's like just like what, exponential. Cost is also very high. It means very expensive. Yeah. So these are the two reasons why SMP is not at all advisable as a hardware environment. Clear, right? Now, then what is the fallback option so that we can overcome this particular problems? That is where we need to start getting into next environment, which is going to be the MHS, multi-host system environment. Now, technical speaking, we use the term MPP, meaning what? Massively parallel processing. I repeat, massively parallel processing. Remember this. Yeah? So that is what we need to take a look at as part of what MHS environment, which is going to be the multi-host system environment. Remember this. Clear, right? So now, how it works and how we can overwhelm the problems of what we discussed with SMP. So that is going to be the next question. Yeah? Let's understand what is meant by this particular MPP. Yeah? So to answer this, yeah, so it's a very simple. It's a superset of SMP, meaning what? It's a set. Yeah? Set means what? It can have more than one physical box. Let us say physical box 1, yeah, and then physical box 2, and then physical box 3, and so on. So which means we can have n number of physical boxes which are interconnected through high-speed network. Yeah? Independent boxes, right? Now let's extend next level. How we can make multiple boxes to talk to each other? That's where we use what? Network. This network normally could be a low speed network or medium speed network or high speed network. Remember this, and so on, right? So which means what? Now, preferably in real production environment, we usually go with what? High speed network, right? No, that's what we use. Now we can define. So MPP is a set of physical boxes which are interconnected through high speed network. So that is what we call MPP, massively parallel processing. Now let us talk about each word. Massively means what? Because we use any number of boxes. Yeah. Why we go with massively adding n number of physical boxes? To get parallelism benefit, which means what? We can make use of all these physical boxes effectively with respect to the resources of what we have on those physical boxes. That's where parallelism comes into picture. And processing means what? So we use this particular word in order to understand what we call to avail the power of what? Processors. Like for example, if you want to perform any mathematical operations, we have to have processors. So that's where we can avail what we call processing power of any computer. Remember this, yeah? So that is why we use the term MPP, massively parallel processing. So that's a definition. Now the question here, let us say we got PB1 and PB2. Now we talked about resources, right? Disk, memory, and CPU. And this also will have, let's say, D1, memory 1, and let's say its own CPUs. Let's say C1. Right? Now the question, the resources of what we have in physical box 1, can we access it in PB2?
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 399 plan and grow your skills immensely.
Answer is no. In case of what? MPP. I repeat, for example, CPU of this particular PB2, can you access it within PB1? Answer is no, because each CPU would be confined to that particular box only. We cannot make use of other box CPU in some other box. Remember this. That is why this particular MPP follows what? Shared nothing architecture. I repeat, MPP follows what? Shared nothing architecture. Remember this, yeah. So that's what you all need to remember. Shared nothing means what? The resources of what we have, like this, will not be made available to what? PB1. Similarly, resources of what we have in PB1 will not be used as part of PB2. That is where we use a term shared nothing architecture. It doesn't matter, fine. So we don't need to care, right? So share or unshare, whatever. As long as we could able to serve our purpose, in the sense we supply our workflow, right? Yes sir. This workflow can be spawned to what? Let's say PB1 and PB2. One part will be done in PB1, other part will be done in PB2. After that, we do collation, in the sense collection, and then collect data will be transferred to a target. That's what we do, right? So which means what? As long as you know like how well we could able to utilize the resources, then we're all good, correct? No, so that's it. So that's what we need, and we could make use of it. That's one benefit. And second benefit is MPP is what um, we can extend. There is no limit of extension, in the sense scale up, scale down is very much possible. For example, let us say for today's business need to process 1 million. So we use what? 3 boxes, and tomorrow 1 billion. So we can just go and add what? 10 boxes or 20 boxes, whatever. Or if you need 1 trillion, yeah, then we can just go and 30 boxes or 40 boxes. That's fine, right? So which means what? It supports what you call adding or even reducing. Let's say business has come down, yeah, and they don't want to waste money for resources. So 1 million to, let's say, 500,000, it has happened. Example, let us say it has happened. Let's take worst case also. In that case, we can reduce the boxes, which means what? Scale up and scale down. Our extendability is very much possible with this particular MPP, which means very, very flexible, you can say. Yeah. So to perform what? Scale up and scale down operation, right? So that's it, like how you can make use of this particular what you call MPP. And other benefit is what? Remember, nowadays I think you guys also would be using big data, right? Like Hadoop or any other open source flavor, where we can uh, uh, make it work with MPP only. Remember, yeah. So this is actually, it's a copy. Big data is not a new concept. This was there since several years. When I started my career, that time it was there, but in different form. Yeah? So people have just changed the name just with fancy term, big data, Hadoop, whatever, right? That's it. So which means this MPP can be used with big data also, which means there are lots of benefits that we get it with what MPP environment. Yeah. So that's it about where we deploy Informatica. So Informatica can be deployed under either SMP environment or MPP environment. That is the bottom line of this particular environment part. Clear, right? Now within MPP, we've got multiple flavors of MPPs. Like we have simple MPP or cluster-based MPP. Like Fidelity uses cluster-based, I know it. And then we can also use grid. Some verticals they are using grid in Fidelity, where a computation of these resources and allocation, all that will be taken care by grid environment. Yeah. So we've got multiple flavors. So we can use it based on our affordability, in the sense grid is very expensive compared to simple MPP, because simple MPP we have to take care by ourselves. Grid, we already have what you call pre-built computation environment, so which you can utilize it rather than what you call building it by ourselves. Yeah, but based on my experience, grid is good for layman people, not for very techy people. But simple MPP is very good, where we'll have a lot of flexibility of playing with what hardware environment, which we don't have it as part of grid. Remember, yeah. So and simple MPP is very cheap. in the sense very cost effective, you can say, to put it in a good word. So cost effectiveness comes out because of, let us say, one box has got 2 GB RAM, other box has got 2 TB RAM. We can utilize it. Remember, which means what? It doesn't care. All the boxes should be symmetric in nature. So MPP can be what? Asymmetric in nature. Asymmetric means what? In terms of boxes, which means computers. One computer could be 2 GB RAM, other computer could be 32 GB RAM or 96 GB RAM or 1 TB RAM and so on. Remember this, yeah? So that is what happens with respect to what we call environments part. Clear, no? So any questions from anybody so far? So that's it, like how this environment is going to work now. So let us move on to what we call practical part of it, yeah? So Kirill, let us cut down, then let's move on to practical part of it so that we can do something, yeah? Yeah, let's log on to your systems. Yeah, please log on to your systems. Yeah. Yeah, please log on to your systems. Yeah, all the systems are fine, huh?
Yes.
Okay, good. So now the next step is what we need to start understanding, like how one can start performing transformations part. So far what we did was we have just talked about what I call simple, like how to read and how to write it. So we didn't do much of what data manipulation part. So that is what is going to be the key part that we need to focus on, right? So let us start getting into it. So all the systems are working, right? Delhi, Dinesh, Priyanka, Subha looks like
It's working.
Mine is work.
perfect. Dinesh, how about yours, Dinesh?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
So,
So now let's move on. So we need to start getting into the next step. Let me also log in. Yeah, log in now. Let me see. Yes. So you all could able to see my desktop, right? Yes. Okay.
yes.
Perfect. So now let us start taking care of some other So like we talked about installation, right? Let me show where it is installed. Remember. So by default, under Windows, can you see here? There is a C drive where we can see Informatica 951. We are using 951 version, right? This is where client has been installed. Yeah. So we have got developer client, Power Center client. So we are focusing Power Center client, right? This is it. So within that, you will have what you call, we talked about multiple clients, no? Like repository manager, all that. Yeah. They all will be part of this particular location. That's it. That's how we can take care of client part. Next is what our server part. Yeah. Server will be, we can install same location, but here I've just installed some other drive because of space problem. So here, can you see here under 951, we can see what multiple components. So server, so that's where we have all the services. Then within that we'll have multiple what you call folders. No? So by default, normally we use SRC files where we can place the source files, and then TGT files where we can place what target. Like yesterday we have seen PM source file dir, we replaced with our own path, right? So if you don't replace now, expect source files under this location, and target files, if you don't do anything, right, they'll be placed under this location. We will see that today. Yeah, theoretical I'm talking about, practical I'll show you. So that's the one thing. Similarly, like caching part, the lookup files, all that, they are all will be stored under this respective folder here. Session logs. We talked about log, right? Session logs and so on. See, you could able to see logs file which will be stored as part of this location. Like we did some examples, right? The examples. These three session logs have been stored here. So that's the location. So now, yeah, that's about server location as well as client location. That's it. Yeah. Under which environment we have installed here? One book, which is SMP box. So we can say desktop environment, yeah, where we are using it to perform simple development and learning. Right? That's what we are trying to do. Right? So that's it about whatever theory we discussed. Practical. Now let us go with what one scenario where we are going to understand like how to perform what I call filtering part. Filter, let's say, as Dinesh was asking question, right? How to take care of multiple filter conditions, right? I think theoretically I answered that. For each condition, we can have separate target. But how do you do it? Let's say department number less than 10, data should be sent to one target. Department is greater than 20, should be sent to some other target, and so on. Yeah. So how do you do it? That's where we have some other transformation, which is what I call filter transformation. Yeah? So let us understand how to do it. Yeah? Let us say department table is a source, and next is what? Filter is a transformation. Then next is what? We'll have two targets. Target one, where we store, let us say one filter condition data, filter one data, filter one data, and same thing, one more filter, and it will be sent to some other target, which is going to be the next filter, which is, let's say, department number, you know, depth number is greater than 20. This is, let's say, depth number is less than 20, right? So here are two separate targets. Likewise, you can think of n number of targets. Let us try doing it. Then we'll talk about other examples. Yeah? One by one, I'll just talk about theory. Then we'll convert that to practical part of it, and we'll understand the problems with that and see how those problems can be solved by using other options within this informatics. Let's start doing it. Yeah? So can we start already, right? Priyanka, I think this database part is set up, no, on your system?
Yeah, I just set it up. We just need to set up that data DSN name, right? Oracle
Yeah, perfect,
engine.
madam. Yeah. That is the one
Yeah.
thing. And second thing is what we need to create one definition, madam, database definition. Like for example, can you see here? This is the one we created. You can see my system, right? Priyanka?
Yeah.
Yes. DSL part should be created. That is done, right, Priyanka, from your end?
Yes. Can you just check my system
Perfect.
if it is done correctly?
Yeah, yours is 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you can do is you just have to go to designer. So others, please check this system. I'm trying to check in Priyanka system so that for you also it will be like revision, right? So she has not done it. We can clear this, she has not done it. Yeah. Now we can clear this. Just to recap for others. Go to sources, then select what import from database and select DSN. And you see she has created DSN perfect. Now we can supply username and password. Now say connect. Yeah, the account is locked. So she has not unlocked it. So what we need to do is we need to log on to this and supply the command. I think which command we gave here? Alter user, right? Yes. User. Which user? Scott, no? Yeah. Scott. Account unlock. I think this command is right. Yes, perfect. So now account is unlocked. So now the next step is what? We need to get into the next level. Yeah. Password. Tiger. 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 Password is same everywhere, Priyanka. Yeah. Fine. So once it is connected, right, then we could able to see schema and corresponding database objects. Can you see here? Under this start schema, we could able to see one of the DB elements, which is department. That's it. What I'm doing. I did mistake.
Sir, I have some small doubt here. So once you connect
Yes,
the
Ganesh.
it will display the start schema, right? In case uh, once connect the connection, in case there is no schemas displayed, then what is the problem?
Which
Suppose
means yeah. What I need to do in that case, Ganesh, yeah, you can sometimes what happens is if you don't have any objects, DB objects, right, it will not be shown. Yeah. Though we have it, sometimes it will not show. Yeah. You can do one thing. Click on all. Can you see here? All. If you click on all, right, it will show all the schemas and corresponding database objects. So look for your schema and expand it so that you could able to see your DB object. Yeah. To solve your problem, I thought to check this on your system after the session, but anyway, you asked this question. You can click on this,
yeah,
Dinesh.
all
Right?
have to check. Okay.
All means now I'll show it here itself. Let it come up. It should bring up all the schemas and corresponding DB objects. Let it come up. It's taking time. By default it uses whatever username that we have and corresponding schema. Yeah, I'll show it now itself. First, when you ask the question. Well, yeah, let it come up. So yours now department definition has created Priyanka. The next step is what we are going to use it. Yeah? Now your thing is ready, Priyanka. You can use it. Let it come up. So because if you have too many schemas, right, it will take a proportionate amount of time to retrieve all of them. So that is what's taking more time because it has got many. That's one reason. Second reason is that if the system is slow, also it will be slow. Yeah. So let it come up. So this is what we need to create. Make sure that you have this Priyanka. I think we have created just now. It's already there. So once it comes up, please let me know. Okay. So now the next step is what? Anyway, I'll watch from here on. So now the next step is what we need to start understanding how to build the mapping. Let us start doing it. So go to mapping designer. Repeat. Go to mapping designer. Then click on what is called mapping and create new map. Right? What if plans cancelled? Bianca? Looks like she cancelled it. But then I will see that after session. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Fine. Now let us apply the name of this. Yeah. Let us apply the name of the mapping. Mapping underscore. Mapping underscore. I'll just put filter with the multiple targets. Correct, no? Because for each filter condition, we would maintain separate target. Correct, no? For example, like if we take a pharma industry, right? The Aravindo data or Aravindo pharma data should be sent to what one target, and Dr. Reddy Labs data should be sent to one. Glenmark, which is another pharma company, right? The data should be sent to some other. And if you take some other Sun Pharma company, that data result should be sent to some other target. Yes or no? So based on what pharma company name, we filter it. Yeah? In this example, we are going to do with what? Based on department number, we are going to filter it. Right? Now, the next step is what? Let us try to drag and drop department. Yeah? Done, right? Drag and drop department. And then the next step is what? We need to start making use of filter transformation. Go to transformation, create. Can you see here? Go to transformation. This is the first example we are trying to do. Go to transformation and select what? Create. Yeah. So here we need to make use of what is called filter transformation. I repeat, here we need to make use of the filter transformation. Let us start using it. I'll just put filter underscore TRX. Yeah. TRX indicates the transformation. Done, right? So
this is Shubha here. Can you just let me know the login password? Is it RPC? What? Just forgot. I was searching
which
the
login?
mails.
Which login password?
The one, the Informatica that what is that called? So it's been in Informatica administrator.
Administrator, administrator.
It has opened up.
Yeah, I can see your system. 5, right? Administrator. Take capital.
No, it is Info 5 something. Is that no? Not that one.
No.
Okay.
Administrator. Take capital.
Fine then. Thank you.
So yes, now click on what create. Anyway, that's not required now, Subha. You can directly get into designer. Yeah. Subha, that's not required now.
I know. I just. Okay.
Yeah, you're just getting. Fine. Now click on create and done. Right. Yes. Now I'm just dragging next to source qualifier. So this is 4, right? So I should do it. Sorry. Yeah.
This
Create
is you're just
and then
giving a recap of yesterday's one, right?
no.
The
This
yesterday's
separate
one
scenario I'm
recap.
talking about.
Huh? Okay, fine.
Yesterday's
Because
one
I
recap.
had a lot of connection issues mentioned.
Okay, madam. Yeah, I understood. So yes, recap part I've already done. Now we are talking about one new scenario, Subha, just to make you understand. So let us say, based on the condition, we need to maintain multiple targets. How do you do it? For example, if the department number less than 20, target should be 1. If the department number greater than 20, target 2. So how do you take care of it within Informatica? There, no? So Shubha, that's what we are trying to focus. I just talked about it
Okay.
theoretically. Now we are trying to do it practically, Shubha.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Now let us take department number as input, and we can also take even other columns also. In case if you want to transfer even other column data to a target. So just connect it. We'll do step by step. Then let us try to configure the filter transformation now. Right? That's what we need to do, right? Right click and then say what? Edit.
Can you please hold on? I'm still dragging the columns.
Okay. Cancel. So what I need to do is, yeah, just highlight and drag on. Perfect. You got it. That's all. Release it. Release it. Yes, release it. Same thing. Oh, she has done it perfectly. I think Subha madam, you became an expert madam Informatica. Oh, this is yesterday's one, right? Create a new mapping, madam. Go to mappings, create. You have not started. Go, madam. Go to mappings and select what create. Supply the name, madam. Mapping underscore filter you can do. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, madam. Okay. Yes. Now drag and drop this department source definition. Like the first one, which you can see here, right? So this one, department source.
Okay. Let me see.
Fine. So then
Somewhere
go to transformation. No? Go to transformation and click on what create.
One
You
second.
can see, right?
One second. I need to drag and drop department here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Now
Fine.
go to transformation. There's a transformation menu in the top.
Go to transformation. Yeah.
Select create.
Create.
Yes.
Mm.
So now here you can type F. You'll get filter. F. Yes. Perfect, madam. Now
Okay.
supply the name of this filter underscore TRX whatever. Yeah. So 2 is done. 3. Yeah, I think 3 is also
Underscore.
done.
What is that? Or some meaningful name.
Filter underscore TRX is fine. Yeah. Fine. Done, right? Now Yeah. Now the next step is what? I think it's done, right, so far?
Please enroll our general membership for $399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan, and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.